So, I would like to start on this topic. So, the theme is technology's impact on childhood and development. And the central question is, does technology help or harm human development? Now, I believe that technology has some good and bad, but for the most part, I believe it's bad. One reason for this that is mentioned in the book is the idea of the implementation of interaction meetings. So we can see here that they don't have normal school, in-person school because of technology, because they do online school, and I don't think this is a good thing because um, it allows companies who are teaching kids to almost indoctrinate them in a way, and not only that, but it takes away from normal social circles and behaviors, and I think that's not a good thing. Um, I think they will not be eventually educated the right way that we should be educated, and you know they just won't be able to talk like normal people and have normal social personal relationships. That's my opening statement.
I feel like, I agree with you. I feel like technology is one of those things where it's like, depending on who you ask, it's one of those like, it just depends on who you ask. It's either going to be good for some people, it's going to be bad for some people. But I'm going to throw up a follow up question for that. I have a question that says here, after reading today on the sun and seeing how the kids are dependent on their AS, do you guys think as a society, with the way technology is becoming part of like everyone's daily life and the way that, kids, I mean, when I'm at church or something like that, I see kids on their phones like kind of quiet them down. Do you guys think kids are going to be going down that path? Or, like people with illnesses, they're going to be depending on technology to like kind of help with some sort of like isolation or basically any sort of issues that they're dealing with. Because me personally, I feel like it can and it probably will be leading down that path because I mean, I feel like nowadays like things are just so like people like speaking out or just like talking about things isn't like as like it depends on who you are, it depends on how you grow up, and I feel like it's been like that for a while. And I feel like that's why technology, people are going to use technology. I mean, there's already instances of people using some things like ChatGPT to like have a whole relationship, and that leads to their like death or whatever because they kind of just listen to technology. And so I just want to get someone's opinion on that, on if they think technology is going to kind of like be in like comparison with how it is at Klara and the Sun with like AS and everything like that.
I'll go. I'm not gonna stand up, but
Why?
anyway. Yeah, no, I think that it's definitely like we're already down that like going down that path that we're gonna rely on like AI and stuff. And like I don't kind of like I kind of not that I don't disagree with it, but I think that like when you mention that people are like you see like kids in church and stuff like or you see like kids like on phones and stuff helping them like calm down, like I think that that's like bad, and I think that we're being conditioned to like be so used to our phones, and especially like younger kids. Like my nephew is like 2 and he's already like he like freaks out every time he like can't like watch like TV and like trucks and stuff, and I think that that's like really bad, and I think that we as a society like rely way too much on these like technologies, and I think that yeah, like we're definitely already going down that path that we'll have like some sort of AI
Like
like
technology
the
is going to be
AS.
like emotional support for people.
Yeah, definitely, and especially for like kids, like leading back to our like discussion.
Um, Following off Mike's question and kind of what you had to say, Emma, I would definitely agree that technology is something taking over people's everyday lives, and there's a reliance on technology that can be seen more now than ever. I found an article that was a study done at Virginia Tech University. Um, and it mentioned how AI can be very good, but also very scary. The good, obviously, revolutionizing lives and giving people a chance to maybe fight diseases that they couldn't before. But the bad being how it affects our thought process in our everyday lives, which can be seen in Claire and the Sun, with Josie often going to Clara with questions about decisions and decision making, as well as today in our lives, like you said, Emma, with kids being so reliant on technology, losing social skills. The article would mention how if kids have the opportunity to have these life changing lifts, like they're called in Clara, it's definitely good, but it can be scary because there can be such reliance on that technology that it starts to prohibit their own cognitive ability, which can also be seen clear through the interaction meeting. Um, Through one of the quotes I found on page 81, when the kids are interacting and Rick stands up to one of the kids and that kid's mother comes in and tries to interfere and Josie's mother says, "Come on, Sarah, we don't interfere, remember?" Really highlighting how these interactions are forced because kids are so not used to it anymore because of the technology and trying to rely on it themselves.
Sorry, I'm gonna go again. I also am talking about parents, okay? Because I read an article and it was just basically about that parents like need to be the ones that are setting limits for their children because I believe that it's the parents that are obviously like enabling their kids to be able to do this. Um, because obviously like the kids aren't going to be able to, you know what I mean? Like they grow up around their own family and that's how they're being conditioned to be like this. But also again, like parents don't aren't going to be able to know any better if that's like the society around them. um, yeah, like I think again, like the parents and Claire and the son are like enabling their kids to become isolated, and they're probably like the root causes for their isolation. And then I kind of had a question to go with that. I was wondering, like, do you guys think that if the parents didn't enable like their children's isolation, if they would still be isolated, or do you think that they would still like they'd be isolated no matter what in the society?
I think no matter what, they will tend to be isolated just because you know there's so much access to technology. Even if you don't instigate it, it's still going to become a problem. They're even kids today, they go on their phones. It's not even something that the parents advocate for. I think parents again should be trying to, on the other hand, do things that I guess go against that, and they should try to like mandate their kids going to um, social events and everything like that. And they should, I think, have some limits on phones because it does impact their cognitive ability, like Matt was saying. Now, I just want to pivot. This one article from the United Nations. Now, it was talking about like some of the good things about technology. First of all, there's a lot of people in the world who are poor, and it gives them access to uh, food and all that. I know necessarily it's not social media we're talking about, but just technology in general. It can help them gain knowledge and access to things around the world that they need. Like any poor place in the world, they might need that stuff. So I just want to pivot and say, do you think it's good in that sense?
Well, I just wanna. I'm not gonna answer your question. I just wanna give what you said about the whole social skill things, and I feel like technology, while it also builds, I feel like it has a chance to build like relationships through like social media presence, and it has the ability to have like kids be able to like communicate. But I feel like the one thing that it loses is like kind of like what Mac was saying about the social skills. I feel like they lose social skills. I have an article here that says it basically said the goods and bads, and one of them was basically saying how it's not you're not able to like read someone's facial expression. You're not going to be able to read someone's like body language or see what they're thinking because of just you using technology to kind of talk through like face to face. I don't know if you guys ever seen the one thing where it's like it's kind of funny, but like it's the one like rabbit like when he's saying like something and then it's like but like in front of him he has like a head of a mask about like lying to act like he's bigger and better. I feel like nowadays I feel like that's how people use technology. But then when it comes to like face to face they're more like that rabbit. They don't really know on what to do. They don't really know what they're saying. I feel like it's just kind of like they're lost. They might have a sense of idea of what to say, but like they don't really like they can't acknowledge what's going on in that conversation.
Do you have anything you want to add, Nigel, about that topic?
Not about that topic, but I remember reading in the book about how Josie's mother was like willing to like willing to replace her in case she were to pass, and one of my questions actually relates to that. So do you guys think that Josie's mom was making the right decision trying to replace Josie with Clara? Because me personally, I feel like that's kind of like taking it too far, though. That just shows how technology is really like getting to a point where we're willing to like replace our family with robots.
I used something one of my quotes for that, and I said kind of is I basically said that technology while people cope differently, I feel like using technology in a way to kind of just like make something like just how to say, like just get like create something new without like being there. I feel like that's kind of like not a good way because you haven't really like you can't really like let go. And I feel like using this technology to kind of just keep on like grasping on into like false sense of hope it isn't healthy for the human being. I feel like what they should do is again depend on human conversation, human connections. Go with people that are also grieving with you, or people who have similar experiences with you. You shouldn't be using technology to, you know, give you that false sense of hope. And I feel like with Josie's mom, it was just not a good decision. As you know, I understand she was guilty, but using technology to just get that false sense of hope isn't, healthy overall for like your mental health.
I think. Sorry, I want to add on to what Nigel was saying. I have a quote here where it says, where this is from Mr. Capaldi on page 207. Part of us refuses to let go. Part of us that wants to keep believing there's something unreachable inside each of us. Now, I just believe that this technology, the more we engross ourselves into technology, we could start to have this mindset more and more. You know, children could be taught that we don't mean as much as we really do. And I think over time that will cause a lot of problems, like uh, believing that AI can replace human relationships, kind of like what the mother is trying to do here. Obviously, from the outside, that looks really um, dumb in a way because you can't replace a human with an artificial friend or AI. But maybe in that time, they kind of saw artificial friends as real people, even though they're not. And, I think it's really important to realize that um, human relationships are way more important than almost anything else. So, yes.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna connect like back to your original, but like one of the last point that you said
Yeah.
about how like these um AI can or like social media or technology can help like people that are like poor or like in need,
Yeah.
and also how you said that Josie's mom wanted to replace her with Clara. I think that it's definitely like I think that there's a lot of good things that come with technology, but like the negatives like overweigh that because you could technically say that that's a good thing. Like you could say that that's a good thing that like mothers can replace like their children with these AIs, but then at the same time like it's you know what I mean, like it's your point of view and the way you look at it, and I think that some of the negatives definitely like outweigh the good things that come with this. I also had a quote from the book because I also think that again like they're trying to solve issues like loneliness with these like AFs. And one of the quotes that I used was, until recently, I didn't think that humans could choose loneliness, that they were sometimes forces were more powerful than the wish to avoid loneliness. And then I kind of said that it's just like a contradiction because they're using technology to avoid loneliness and it's actually just making it worse. So I think that like they created like this technology is like meant to help them, but like the younger people, but it's just not. And I think that that's kind of like back to what you said. Like it's still it can help people in ways, but it's definitely like harming people and others.
I agree with the points that you two have made, but I'd like to respond to your question, Nigel, and your question from earlier, Emma, about parents' roles and parents' involvements with technology and how they influence their kids. Um, Josiah, I know you mentioned that you feel like the kids would still be exposed to it and, do their own thing with it. However, I'm going to take a more Clara and the Son specific approach to that, to your two questions about parents. And I think in Clara and the Son, the kids didn't really have that much of a choice. It was kind of forced upon them by birth. For instance, the mother talks about Sal, who obviously they tried to lift and it didn't go well, and then her passing away. And the mother even quotes after Sal, he said, "We shouldn't risk it, but I could never have that for Josie. I wanted the best for her. I called it, and now Josie's sick." Which also I think shows an interesting perspective on humans and their innate trait of selfishness. I think that no matter what, at the end of the day, humans are going to choose what they think is best for them and what they see best. So answering Emma and Nigel's questions, I think that the parents have a lot more to say in Claire and the Son and the kids because even after seeing what happened to Sal, Josie's mother still chose to get her lifted, which obviously resulted in Josie's sickness, displaying the mother's innate trait of selfishness and doing what she pleases with that technology available to her.
Talking about lifting, I wanted to kind of pivot and talk about how much this could have a negative effect on society. I think we see that in Rick, I think we, they were when Rick and Hosey were talking about their future. Um, Rick said, talking about a college, that's all their intake of unlifts is less than 2%. That's on page 129. I think kind of what that's talking about is that there's going to be such a divide between lifted people, lifted kids, and unlifted kids, and that's really unfair for the unlifted kids. As you can see here, less than 2% of them get into college, which is super unfair. And I think if we have technology that can lift people up, I think that could be a big problem. And we'll start to see more and more separation between the two, where the unlifted kids won't be able to get jobs and the lifted kids will. And it'll cause more and more equity diversion.
Great job elaborating, Josiah. Nigel, anything for you to add that Josiah said about lifting and record or kids in general?
Um, so I'm guessing that you feel as though technology will most likely isolate kids more from society, right? Would you say that it can like help them grow at least?
In some aspects, but most aspects, it's just going to have a negative effect on them.
What do you think, Nigel?
Anything to elaborate on for that?
Why? Why do you agree?
Like why?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Like why do you agree with me in that statement?
Why do you think that technology could isolate kids?
Oh, because we could get like so used to using it that we're kind of like isolating ourselves from the outside world, talking to people. Like when Josie first met Clara, I feel like they instantly clicked when they met at that store. You know, it it seems as though that she enjoys her relationship more with Clara compared to like talking to an actual human being. That's kind of why. You know, she's talking to a robot, talking with technology more than like actual people.
Definitely. Nice,
Yeah.
Nigel.
I might want to counter argument that and say that maybe technology, because I have a question here that's saying, basically saying that technology is part of their lives, and you know, but like if there's any circumstances where technology is a good factor in a normal child's life, and I feel like it could be a good thing with, I feel like if it's being used for something like education, if it's being used for, or some sort of like education where I help the child like understand it easier. I mean, I know with me, I use technology sometimes. If I don't know how to explain something like my little siblings, I just search it up. How do you pronounce this? Or like how another example of pronounce that. And I feel like using technology and stuff like that, where it's not like you're just depending on it to help you, like if you need it to like for you to like go fast, but I feel like you use it to help you with it. Like, I mean, I don't know if you guys have Mr. Cologne, but Mr. Cologne, he says use ChatGPT as kind of a source to help you and a kind of source to like I feel like using that to like that instead of it basically controlling you. I feel that's a good way to go about it.
Can I ask a question with that?
Yeah.
So you do believe that like we should use technology in terms of like almost like as like a side tool, not as a like the thing you're like just learning online. Do you believe that we should still have like
I feel like
in-person schools, right?
I feel like technology should be there, but just as something to help us.
Yeah.
Just as help and only as help. It shouldn't be something to basically overpower teachers that they completely remove teachers and learning instructors and whatnot. Technology should only be here for the way we kind of are using it. Use it to kind of guide us, help us get through get a better education, whether it's helping us figure out what's the difference between there and then there is, or even trying to figure out what a what defines a country. I think that's what technology should be used for.
Like research.
Yeah,
that,
just researching. Yeah.
Nice. What do you guys think about maybe one more question and wrap this thing up?
We're at 20 minutes.
Oh, we're at 20? Okay.
I think we're good.
Okay.
Ask a question like that.
You can ask it.
You can ask him.
Do you guys think that 10 years from now, the world will improve because of technology?
I don't know. Depends on how you look at it. But
I think it
Depends on
might
what aspect.
it might improve in certain aspects, but some aspects it might kind of like what I was talking about earlier, how like poor people they need technology for learning and stuff, but there's to a certain extent it becomes too much where it starts to be I don't know the word
Or if not, technology is going to be like
Retroactive.
how it's going to be like the work here somewhere there. It's like if you have all this technology and you have the ability to like access all this like good technology, it would be higher up to some people depending on like in a third world country where they can't even they probably never even touch the phone. They're not going to be like they don't know as much as someone who does have a phone because they can't access all the like sort of internet stuff. Like it just varies on how you look at it.
I agree with that.
Nice.
I would like to add on to that actually. So I'm sure you're all aware of brain rot. Didn't like brain rot like occur because of technology?
I feel like Brain Rot's just been here. Brain Rot's been here for a while. It's just a term that came up with it.
Yeah.
The same goes with doom scrolling. Like doom scrolling has been here for a while. It's just again, it's
But
just a
technology has
vocabulary.
increased it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's
So,
increased
yeah,
it.
that's a way that that's not very beneficial.
Great insight.
Okay,
Nigel.
we need to
All
stop.
right.